Hey everyone, it's Gilz with your post-game walk and talk here in Madison Square Garden as Kansas State's season officially comes to an end in Madison Square Garden as FAU takes down the Cats 79-76 as the Owls are headed to the Final Four. This one sucks for Kansas State, no other way to put it, as Kansas State was just 3 points away from getting to Houston, but instead it all just suddenly comes to an end as this ride was so much fun to be a part of. It was a roller coaster at times, without a doubt, and for K-State to make it this far is truly remarkable. Picked to finish last in the Big 12, and then the Cats finish in third, make it to the Elite Eight, and can't say enough about the job that Tang did here in year one. I'll touch on that here in a second, but first, Kansas State, like I said, lost it by just 3 points, but really shot itself in the foot here down the stretch against FAU. Now, first and foremost, all credit goes to FAU. That's a legitimate team. The Owls deserve to be in the Final Four. They've got some dudes, only losing 3 games all year. I'm not going to call this a fluke at all. FAU's legit, and I'm happy for those guys. I really am. But Kansas State got out-rebounded 44-22. You can't get doubled up in the rebounding battle and expect to win in March Madness. K-State had 12 turnovers. It's tough to win games when you have that many turnovers. K-State actually, believe it or not, this was the team's first loss all season long with less than 13 turnovers. Obviously, it was just by 1 point or 1 turnover with 12, but K-State was kind of living and dying by the turnovers that it didn't have, and 12 was enough for Kansas State tonight here in Madison Square Garden. K-State shot 66% from the free throw line. Those are free points that you have to have. K-State missed a couple of those down the stretch that really would have been big boosts to, let's be honest, maybe lift them, to the Final Four. Keontae Johnson played just 18 minutes in this game. He had 9 points, which ties a season low for the Florida transfer. So just a lot of things didn't go K-State's way. The 50-50 balls, it kind of seems like those did not go K-State's way. And also the fancy plays that K-State tried to make really came back to bite them. The simple plays are always going to be better options than the highlight plays. Obviously, those plays can get you on SportsCenter. There were a lot of fans here in MSG. It could have got those guys hyped up, but at the end of the day, when you try to make something happen, when you try to do too much, I should say, and it ends up backfiring, it leads to a turnover. It leads to a quick bucket for FAU. It hurts, and K-State really didn't do a good job of not hurting itself tonight, if that makes sense. But a lot of things went wrong. I don't think you can pinpoint it on one thing. This just was not a great game overall for Kansas State. It was a tremendous game for Marquise Noel, 30 points. I mean, he does what he does. Coming off of a record-setting assist night against Michigan State, he drops 30 here in MSG in his hometown, his home city. It's his city, as he says. He's Mr. New York City. Ish Massoud called him, people of every teammate has said stuff about Marquise Noel and how special this has been for him. But unfortunately, it comes to an end tonight in New York as K-State drops this one by just 3 points, 3 points away from the Final Four. And I want to just wrap it up with this and say that, Kansas State had no business being in the NCAA tournament at the start of the year. With 2 players returning from last year's roster, the Cats are just a miracle to even be in this spot. And while as frustrated as you might want to be that Kansas State came up just short, you've got to remember how far this team came this season. 13 newcomers. We always talk about 11 newcomers, but when you look at the walk-ons, there were really 13 newcomers to this squad. And Marquise Noel and Ish Massoud 100% laid the foundation for Kansas State basketball's future. Jerome Tang is obviously a tremendous hire. I think we could all agree on that Tang's got a good number of years ahead of him in Manhattan, but this season would not have been a thing if it wasn't for Marquise Noel and Ish Massoud. Could have K-State gotten to the tournament? Sure, but for K-State to do what it did, every single player on this roster, every coach that Tang hired had an important role in getting Kansas State here. And so this was quite the journey, going to Greensboro, going to New York, going to different cities. And as much as I would have loved to go to Houston, myself and Zach Carlson get to sleep on our own bed here for the first time in about a week and a half after covering the Cats on the road here in March Madness. So again, a tough loss. K-State just didn't do enough right things to win this game, but I think we should all put that aside and just be thankful for what Jerome Tang has brought us in year one. Well, that's pretty much it for Madison Square Garden. A lot of coverage coming your way as to what went wrong for the Cats in this game. Be sure to lock in on GoPowercat. And like I said, the future of K-State basketball is bright. K-State's got a lot of players returning to next season's roster. But it ends here tonight in Madison Square Garden as Kansas State falls 79-76 to FAU in the Elite Eight.